business is an intellectual sport. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this stuff is all stuff in your mind, all of it. And all
Yep.
of that was just all of those fears. It was just my stuff in my mind. If you could kind of like say like, hey, like when you die, like this really won't matter. Like even like and I also would say another quote I say a lot when I'm going through hard times is, in 5 years, is this going to matter?
It's
Nah,
so true. It's just
mhm,
so hard when you're in it at the
yeah.
beginning to get over it, but it's so
Mhm,
true in the sense of like, even if you had like, even if you had lost it, like
mhm.
even if you had like completely lost that lawsuit, you still probably would have been fine in the end. It would have
Yeah,
sucked, but like you still would have been
that would have been
like
okay.
doing fine, making money
Mhm,
in the business. Like it is, I feel like those are the keys, like going, I think that's a really good trick, is like being like, will this matter in 5 years or will this matter when I'm dead? Right. Like
mhm,
there's so many more important things, like hanging out with my children or being with your parents or being with
mhm.
family and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I love that little nugget too. So amazing. So, okay, that really jumpstarts your business. I'm curious because this is also something, because you're a mentor. You've mentored a ton of people already because you were part of Wholesaling Inc., which, guys, is like a huge, like Brent Daniels owns it. It's like a huge group. What is it exactly? Actually, it's like a group, right?
I would call us a media company. You know,
Okay.
we sell real estate education. So it's a real estate
Hmm.
education company. But they owned a podcast called Wholesaling Inc. And that's that piece of media was really their number one source of customers. So
So how, because like the question is, all these are kind of related questions, of the sense of, when did you know, or when did you get a mentor? Because I think this is like also very important for newer wholesalers or newer flippers or just real estate investors in general, of being like, all right, what made you get a mentor? When did you get a mentor? And like, how soon do you think somebody should get a mentor? Because I mean, my journey, that made all the difference, was the fact
mhm,
that I joined people's mentorships like Jamil
yeah.
Danji and Pace Morby and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about your story with mentorships.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like my brother was my mentor, right? So he was flipping
Hmm.
2 years before me. So my first 2 deals I did with my brother, he taught me all of it. I did take some education. Back then it was like, this is 10 years ago. So there was like no online e-courses. They would come in CDs and
Oh
you
my
would get
God.
these little CDs and you would listen to them like in your car. That was like how old school I am here. So that was, I definitely leaned into education from day one. Day one. I don't think I wouldn't have been able to do the business at all.
Mhm.
Anyone, I back then YouTube University wasn't exactly what it is now. Like there's a lot on YouTube. So I think YouTube can be helpful, but what I truly believe about YouTube is that it gives you inspiration, but it does not give you direction,
Right.
big picture. So you can get real distracted on YouTube and it's like, oh, well, this person says this, and then this person says to do that. And the next thing you do, you just keep doing all these different things and nothing works because you have no direction. So mentorship is extremely important.
What do you recommend for somebody to do? Like, maybe we should take people in different positions, right? Because I have my philosophy on it, but I'm curious about yours, of like, okay, this person doesn't have any resources yet. This person has some resources. Like, two things. How do you find a mentor? And when should you find a mentor? It sounds like your answer might be with the when, as soon as possible. But like,
ASAP.
how do you choose a mentor? And how do you find one?
There's two different ways to go about this, right? There's the mentor that like is just somebody you met. Maybe it's like a friend of yours that's doing the business. And like, that's probably the most ideal scenario, right? I fell into like the
Hmm.
best. My brother hooked me up and like, I didn't have to pay for it. And it was great. If you don't have a friend that's in the business, then the other step is like paid education. And being that I come from education, I understand like that world. I think there are a lot of really, really great education programs out there, and they're all helpful as long as you do exactly what the educator says to do.
Hmm.
I will say there's tiers of education that I would avoid. I would avoid the really expensive $20,000. Like I went to a
Right.
seminar. Like there's they still get people, man. I don't know, like they do. And that's,
Right.
I've had a lot of students come out of those ones and then they come to me and, I didn't charge nearly that much. And, so I think the really expensive education, you're not necessarily getting anything better. In fact, sometimes the less expensive one, because they don't have this big marketing outfit behind them, might be even better. Usually those courses that are in that like $7,000, $12,000 price points, because they had to spend a lot of money in Google ads to let you know who they were,
Right.
in digital marketing ads, and they have staff and all that. So don't let cost, the more isn't necessarily the better program.
Right.
Okay. Like, don't like, oh, but this program is $10,000. It must be better. Not true. Not
Mm-hmm.
true at all. So absolutely. Like, the other thing is find someone, like an educator, that's living a life that like you want to live. I think that there's educators out there. Okay. So like, here's my brand, right? This is what people know me for. I've been told, like, like you seem just so real. You're not like, $1 million wholesaler, you're going to make millions. And like,
Right.
no, like, I'm just like, so do you want to quit your full-time job?
Right.
Like, that's, I'm not like selling the moon, and I don't necessarily care. Like, I'm not money focused. I'm more of like, I wanted time freedom. So a lot of people respect that, like, oh, you had kids, like you have kids, and like you got in this business when they were young, and like you figured out how to quit your full-time job, and now you have like time freedom and you get to pick up your kids from school, and like you still really value like work life balance. You're not all like money, 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 I want to be a multimillionaire. You're more like, I just want to have a really good life, and I want to live well. I want to have an enriched life, not necessarily a rich life, right?
Interesting. I like that a lot.
Some people really identify with me in that way. But it's funny, like being in the education space, I see like some people, they want the glitz and the glamour and the $1 million and the boats and I bought a mansion, and, like, and some people like that educator, and that's the life they want. And like, that's great. Like, it's all good. Just find someone that like you relate to, and that you want to kind of aspire to be like.
I love that. That's such a good answer. I think so. You're so right in the sense of like so many people get into the business also being like, I really want to get rich, when really like whatever the hell makes you happy, right? Like
Mhm.
if you want, like, spending time with your children is like amazing. Like I love
Mhm.
that. Like I love that. And I also love the advice of finding a mentor that fits what you want, right? Because
Mhm.
I think that's something, I think that's the hardest part for people, is they don't vet their mentors at all in that way
Mhm.
whatsoever. So that's going to be my next question too, is like, how do you vet a mentor, or like, how do you make sure they're not, because I mean, like, let's be real, there are people where it's borderline scammy, like not,
Yeah.
they're probably not scams, but like very much like I paid 20K and got um,
Yeah.
a dictionary of real estate. So
Yeah.
how do you vet somebody?
Yeah, that it can be challenging because, the mentor's not gonna have time to talk to you on the phone. Like, we're
Right.
just not. Like, I'm really doing deals, guys. Like, I would get, I get from time to time like the DM, like, can I pick your brain and can I talk to you
Yeah.
before I buy your program? I'm like, no, because I'm busy. And if I did that for everybody, I couldn't actually buy houses. And don't
Right.
you want someone that actually buys houses? Like,
Right.
like, education's not my primary, buying houses is number one for me. Like, so, it's tough, right? So what I did personally is I put reviews on my review page.
Mhm.
I have reviews. I have on my YouTube, you can go on my YouTube, my course page had a bunch of reviews. I have YouTube's like done with my students. So like it kind of builds some credibility, that I have some successful students in my program, so like that's helpful. So like look to see, like, do they have any kind of like testimonials, video testimonials, like podcasts that like they've done with students, something like that, to kind of prove that they've had some successful students.
This is also
Um,
something that, like, I don't know if you do this. Like, by the way, guys, Lauren has a program 100%. She's an amazing person and mentor. Like, I guarantee it. So we're going to put that in later if you guys want to join that. But I mean, this is just a curiosity. Like, this is my brain going off. Have you ever had it where maybe instead of you they talk to, you're like, here, talk to my student, like let them tell you how good the program is? I'm just curious.
At the end of the podcast that I would do with my students, they would drop like their email. So some of them have said that people will reach out just before they bought, so yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you know Dahlia, but like I think this is funny. I don't know if this is like an
I
inside
I
joke.
think I'm not sure she's the same person, but there is an inside joke about the way I sneeze. I have a very silent.
Wait, it's just like impossible. Like, no, you can't hear anything.
I know, it's just very quiet. I have a very quiet sneeze.
Hilarious. I love that. Anyways, I didn't mean to distract you. So vetting mentorships, just I got you. So cool. Okay, so I want to keep going with your story then. So going into your story a little bit more, you get motivated by that lawsuit, like very much the desperation like kicks into gear. How'd you end up with Wholesaling Inc.?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you want the real story, or do you want just like the light sky, like
No, I want the
high
real
level? You
story.
want to hear
I
the funny
definitely
part,
want the real
story?
I want all
Okay.
of it.
Okay. It's just to me, it's just funny. So I never thought about being in education at all. That was never something I aspired to do. I didn't know what an influencer was. My Instagram prior to getting into the education side of real estate was like pictures of my kids and like a puppy. Like, so that tells you how into social media I was. I was going through a breakup. And it was like just a bad breakup. If you ever anyone who's ever like gone through a really bad breakup, right? Like you become a little unhinged. And I remember like the person was not particularly nice to me. So I just wanted to show that I am okay. Like I just was like, I am okay. Right. So like, but I wasn't going to be like most girls who was like going to put it on social media. Like, how the girls like break up with their boyfriend, they always have like, there's always this like 1 month of social media posts where they're like, just like on a boat and hiking and eat, praying and loving, whatever. I was like, no, that would be too obvious.
Yeah, I got it.
So instead I was like, I'm going to go on a podcast tour.
Love it.
So I just called anyone I knew that had podcasts. And I was like, I just got to get myself out of this. I got to get myself out of this, just crappy breakup feeling. And I need to get out there and like show that I'm okay, show myself that I'm okay. And so I called my friend Brent Daniels. I was like, hey, you got a podcast and I've not been on it yet. And he's like, why don't you get on?
Wait. How'd you know Brent Daniels? I feel like that's like, I mean, like in my head, that's not somebody who usually just gives out their number. Like, tell me that a little bit.
I just knew him through the industry. Someone introduced us like years prior to that time before he started TTP. So I just knew him. Yeah, I was just friends with him. And yeah, it's so funny. I actually tried to put a group together once, and then I just didn't have the tenacity to keep it going. But I put a Facebook group together once, and Brent was in it, and Brent presented like on his business. And I had not looked at that Facebook group in years, and I just happened to still have it on Facebook. And I looked and I see a comment from Brent, like pre-TTP, like it was so funny. He was like, whoa, that was really cool. Like a time capsule.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
Anyway, I called him, got on the Wholesaling podcast. And after that, it was so funny. Brent goes, hey, so what's been going on? Like, what are you up to? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to like do this. I was like talking about like maybe like the Burr method or something. I don't know. I was like talking about some other shiny object I was thinking of doing.
Right.
And he goes, screw all that. You should be an influencer. And I was like, what's an influencer? And he's like,
that's so
really,
funny.
yeah. And that's where it started. He's like, you should do like a course. Like you've got some good energy, like, and you've got a niche, like nobody's doing virtual right now. It was before virtual was that trendy. There wasn't.
I just want to say real quick, I love the fact you like just didn't know what an influencer was.
No,
like
I didn't know.
That's really funny.
No idea. Had no idea what an influencer was. I was like, what's an influencer? And so, yeah, he just showed me like what that side of real estate education is and what it's about. And I thought, I need a change. Like, why not? Like, let's try something different. I'll learn a lot. And Oh, like a week. So I told Brent, like, okay, I'm putting this course together. I start putting the course together. As soon as I told Brent about the course, that I actually like took action and put something together, Tom Kroll texts me out of nowhere. Now that I didn't know Tom Kroll, like I was like, Tom Kroll.
Right.
I got like a text out of nowhere. Hey, bam, it's Tom Kroll. I'm like, what? He literally texts people that, by the way.
That's
Bam, it's
crazy.
Tom Kroll. And he literally, I got on the phone with him. He's like, hey, like you should like, I was like thinking of just giving my course away for free. I didn't even really, I didn't know what I was doing. And he's like, no, like sell it under us and come on our team. So yeah, so that's where it worked. And I was an author. They were like my publisher. And yeah, it was like, it's been a really fun ride. I'm actually not with Wholesaling Inc. anymore. So like the new news is that I'm on my own, and it was so hard to like leave and very emotional because like I just have like nothing but like great memories. And it was like 2.5, it was just like, it's been the last 2 years. It's been such a wild ride, and they've taught me like so much. But so now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a lost rhino. I'm an independent rhino now. At the end of the day, I became really burnt out with all the things I had going on. Like I was buying houses, wholesaling houses, flipping houses, and I had an education program, and then I also had to drop 5 YouTube videos a week, and do one podcast episode, and then do outside podcast episodes. So it was the filming and the like social media elements of it were taking up a lot of my time. And now my other business is like suffering and not really growing because of all these things. And so I got to this moment like of like, you got to start deciding like what you really want to focus on in your life, and where do you see yourself in the next 10 years. And I always saw myself just like doing bigger development projects like that never left. And I'm like, well, if you keep doing the real estate education in that way that you have to do if you're here with Wholesaling Inc. and with kind of just that world in general. Like you're not going to make it if you're not on social media all the time. You're just not. There's too many other educators now in that space. Then like you're going to like, it's like if you don't want to do that, then like you should focus on what you want to do. So now, like I just had to take some time to think about like what I really wanted to do. And it took me a while. Like it was really a tough decision.
So I'm curious, because how did you come to that decision? Because I feel like those decisions are really important, in like the sense of like, okay, like I love this community. I haven't done it with a community yet necessarily, but I've definitely had those moments where I'm like, I need to change something big in my life, and I might have to give up on something, right? Like this reminds me of when I had to give up on, not give up, but like spend way less time with my friends who weren't doing real estate just naturally, right? Because I have to do this business. So tell me a little bit about that process. Like how, like, did you like think to yourself, or like how did you come to that decision? What was the process?
It was really hard. So, the first thing, let me like kind of put some context here. Like I had a very successful coaching program that had over 400 students go through it. And every one of those students I gave a welcome call to. So like, you got to think I was on the phone a lot. I was filming videos. Like I was doing a lot. And at first I was like, I got this. I could do this. Like when it first happened, it was 2020. Right. And it happened like so fast. And I just was like running off adrenaline. But it's funny because now looking back, I think my body was telling me this is too much, because I was getting sick. I have a thyroid disease, and my thyroid disease went out of control for 2 years. Out of control. And it started right then and there. And I mean, doctor after doctor. I think I saw 6 different doctors and spent $15,000 to heal my thyroid.
Damn.
Like that's how bad it was. Like I was just throwing money at any doctor, witch doctor, voodoo. I was like, I'll do anything. I'll go to a magician like to heal my thyroid.
Isn't that crazy? This is just something I want to, like, the body never lies. This is something that I've learned too, just with like my stress and like I have like anxiety problems, and I'll like, when I'm even if my conscious brain is telling me I'm not anxious, I have like a prone to sometimes scratch myself. And like, I really like, no, you're scratching yourself. Your body's telling you you're way too anxious right now. You have to do
Yeah.
something about this. So I really like that, in the sense of like, everyone watching this is like, listen to your body. Your body is really telling you. Your mind is probably, your prefrontal cortex has no
Mhm.
idea, but your body 100% does.
Yeah.
So just
And
want to
it's weird
emphasize
because
that.
I was in such denial. I could not admit to myself that I think my thyroid problem is coming from stress. I just
Mm,
couldn't admit it to myself. And instead, I was like, I'll just find a doctor to cure me. But I powered through it and I just did all the things that everybody expected me to do. And you know, if someone said jump, I said how high, and I just listened to everybody else. And in the end, I was like, you know, for what? Like, this isn't,
right.
like, this isn't really, all this is doing is just stressing me out. And like, I think I
Mm,
can probably make, I was doing fine before financially, like, like I was like, for money, like, I don't know. And even the money, I'm like, there's a certain amount of money that like makes it motivating. And then there's a certain amount that doesn't. And like,
right.
I was like, I just can't take this on. Like, this is so you asked me, how did I come up with that decision? Well, first I started listening to myself. My boyfriend, he said, Lauren, after you never, when you're talking about filming YouTube videos or social media stuff or students, anything related to that business, you don't light up. You're not like
Right.
into it. He's like, but when you buy a new house or you're putting a deal together, you light up then. Like when you come
Mm,
downstairs and you're talking to me and you're getting construction questions answered and you're like, whatever. He's like, that's when you get excited and light up. It's like, I can see it. Like, you light up when you do this, you don't when you do that. And I was like,
right.
thank you for telling me that, because I wasn't even aware of that.
Right.
So yeah. So I said, okay, I need to start deciding what are things that I enjoy doing. And that was really, I was so out of touch because I was listening to other people and doing what other people want out of me.
Mm,
And I was so out of touch with what actually I enjoy. And it has taken, I can't tell you how many months to figure it out and to cut out the other stuff, just delete out the other things that I don't enjoy, like, has been very difficult because you kind of get tangled into stuff.
right.
As a business owner, you're like, oh, well, we're working on this project together and we have this launch and we have this. And like, I had to really start untangling and canceling and ending relationships and things. And so it was really tough. One thing that really helped me though, there's this book I really recommend. There's two books I'm going to drop for you guys. If you're a business owner, it's not if, it's when you're going to be in this situation where you have to make a decision. Crossroads, right? There's crossroads, and you're like, do I keep doing what I do, or do I like just cut it off? And it's scary because you kind of don't know what the next path is going to look like, right?
Right.
One was called Design. It's like Design Your Life. I think that's what's called. It's like a blue cover. So Design Your Life is really good for anyone. It's like it's like lifestyle design. It's all about lifestyle design.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. The next one is Necessary Endings. And it's really important to be aware of endings and what your relationship is to endings.
Right.
A lot
I
of
spelled necessary wrong, but whatever. Keep
I would
going.
I would have spelled it like that probably. But yeah, necessary endings is a really good one because I figured out that I actually really struggle with ending things, and that's sometimes I get into things and I stay in too long, and it's at an expense to me and my happiness. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
No, I love it. 100% feel like I love that we at least starting to end it with like that stuff of like what really matters, in the sense of like, what do you actually want? You see all these crazy people doing all sorts of this gnarly stuff, right? Like, a lot of
Hmm.
times the mentors in the business, you're right, claim a lot of things. Some of them
Hmm.
aren't even doing it, but even the people like Brent Daniels, who are like just doing crazy amounts of deals, and like Pace and Jamil and all of that, like, not everybody wants to be them, right? So like, you also got to take the advice from I really like what you said of like, find the mentor for the life that you want to live.
Hmm.
I think that's really good. So I don't want to keep you here too long because I know it's supposed to be an hour, but I have one last question that I always ask everyone, which is like, if you could go back to beginner Lauren, day one, it's like, you just decided, I'm doing real estate, we're doing it, we're finding a flip. What would you tell Lauren then, knowing everything that you know now?
Think for yourself.
Explain
Because
that a little bit. Go into that.
So I was even talking to my friend about this the other day. He's like, I don't have any mentors. I'm not a part of any masterminds. I just think for myself. And I'm
Mm,
like, and he's crushing it. This guy is doing so well.
nice.
And I know, like, I'm pretty logical. Like, I'm really good at like collecting data and making a very good logical decision. And honestly, like, I know, like, I'm smart. Like, I'm pretty smart. I'm pretty quick.
Obviously.
But man, I am a trusting little person and I will trust anyone. And I always was like in a coaching program or in a mastermind or in a this or in a that. And all that ends up really being, I think coaching is really good when you first get started.
Hmm.
But then there's like this part where you graduate kind of from that.
Hmm.
And you got to really learn like how to critically think for yourself. And if
Right.
you need advice, like consult with maybe other business owners that are in different industries to get ideas or like outside your industry. Consult with attorneys, consult with like real experts of, these different micro elements of your business.
Right.
Rather than I hate masterminds. I hate real estate masterminds. I hate them. Every time I ever join them, I
Wait,
regretted it.
why? Wait, why'd
Oh,
you
I just
regret
hate
them?
them. They're terrible. I
Okay.
just don't like them. I think it's everybody's in the same industry. Nobody really wants to share what they're doing because they're scared that other people are going to steal their ideas.
Right.
And then there's this big, like, who's better than I'm closing 100 deals a year. Well, I'm closing 100 deals a month. Well, I'm closing
Right.
100 deals a minute. It's like,
Right.
no, none of you guys are doing any of those things. Stop lying. I don't
Right.
like mastermind scene, but I could look back and I've gotten in my head and given me ideas and I listened to other people because I thought they're so smart. And like
Right.
in the end, I'm like, actually that was bad advice and I should have listened to myself. Like I should have like
Right.
actually said, is this good for me? Because at the end of the day, like people could give you advice, but they don't know if that's good for you, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I actually wish I listened to myself more than I was always so inclined to ask for advice and ask other people for advice before I listened to myself. And now I'm listening to myself first.
I love that. Like, I love the knowing thyself type of things and like
Mhm,
listening to yourself because it's so true. Like, people are just so different in the sense. Like, I try because people now come to me and like ask me like
mhm.
how do I get started? What should I do? And I'm like, well, okay. So first off, who are you? You got to
Yeah.
tell me who
No,
you
I know.
are
Yeah.
first, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
like me. I'm super salesy and visionary type. Like, I'll just run my head through a wall to just do things. Like, I don't think you should cold call. I think you should do something like, I don't know, agent outreach or something, whatever, right? So I love that. That's basically where I'm going with it. So, all right, where do you do deals? Like, tell me everything you want right now.
Yeah. So I do deals. I partner with people. I joint venture. We are very good at dispo. We do dispo for people in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boise, Idaho, Southern California, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City right now. So I just listed off a bunch of places. So if you guys have contracts you're trying to move, I'm either a buyer there or I could help you move them. So why don't you guys, you can go to Sell Real Estate Fast. I actually just created a landing page for that for this specific thing. I don't even know if it's for sure up yet. So just save the landing page. We threw it up today because I was like, I gotta find like a place where people could submit deals. So
Like that, right?
sellrealestatefast.com. Yep. Put there. And then if you just want like free resources, I put together free course on wholesaling. So free course on wholesaling.com. It's just a free course. I've got different tools in there, a seller script, just some video modules that you might find helpful. So yeah.
I love it. Okay, so if they want to do deals with you, www.sellrealestatefast.com
Yep.
and www.freecourseonwholesaling.com. You have a YouTube channel, I know that. So like if
Yeah.
people want to see your YouTube videos, should they just look up your name? Do you want to promote your Instagram or anything? Anything like that?
Yeah. So just look me up, Lauren Hardy on YouTube. And then on Instagram, it's This Mom Flips.
Amazing. I love it. So, all right, guys, follow her on YouTube, follow her on Instagram. If you're trying to do deals in, let's see if I remember, Boise, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and SoCal, and
Yeah.
like
Oh,
LA.
wow. Yeah. And some of those markets, I'm an actual buyer. And then some of them, I just do the wholesaling. So
And just go to the website,
yeah.
fast.com in order to make that happen. Lauren, any last words?
No, thank you. This was a good episode. I
I,
appreciate, going through the mindset stuff. I totally love it. So thank you so much for having
I
me.
love it too. Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I remember listening to you while I was driving for dollars. I remember that episode with Steve Trang. So like, it's cool being able to interview you now. And like, I remember helping out your community. So it's cool
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
love it. Quick, some announcements, guys. So I'm going to be for the next month, this is going to be the last time the episodes are live. I'm going to do now pre-recording. So the month of November it's actually going to be more edited ones of the podcast I've already done. And then December, we're going to start doing the pre-recordings, releasing them, editing them more cooler and stuff. So just realize this is the last time I'm going to do it live. I might figure out a way to do it where like when I'm doing the pre-recording, it's kind of live, but it doesn't go live to YouTube or Facebook. I'm figuring all of that out, but just realize this is the last one that's live. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the main thing, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Scorch the Fears. I don't remember what episode 47. This is episode 47. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see y'all next time.